Daniel had always been a man of ambition. From a young age, he worked hard to build a life that would not only provide comfort, but also create opportunities for those he cared about. He had grown up in a household where success was expected and family honor mattered greatly. His mother, Martha, had been the kind of woman who carefully watched every step her son took. She wanted him to have the perfect life, the perfect career, and someday the perfect partner. Then came Layla. She was unlike anyone Daniel had ever met. There was a quiet strength about her, a calm confidence that made people feel instantly at ease. She worked hard in her career, but she never flaunted her success. People liked her for her warmth, her kindness, and her ability to make everyone around her feel seen. Daniel had been drawn to her from the very beginning, and as he spent more time with her, he realized he wanted a life with her, a future he could build together. The day he decided to propose, Daniel felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He knew he wanted to ask her, to make her his partner forever, but he also knew his mother would have something to say about it. Martha had always been protective, especially when it came to matters of the heart. She wanted to ensure that anyone joining their family was trustworthy, responsible, and deserving. Daniel braced himself for the conversation he knew would come. When he told his mother that he wanted to propose to Layla, her reaction was immediate and cautious. She smiled, but there was a calculating look in her eyes. "That's wonderful, Daniel," she said. "But before anything happens, I think we need to talk about a few things." Daniel could feel the tension already. He had expected some questions, but he didn't expect what came next. Martha spoke about the importance of financial security, legal protection, and the necessity of a prenup. A prenup was a document designed to protect both parties in a marriage, particularly when one or both individuals had significant assets. Martha explained it carefully, making it sound reasonable, even necessary. She insisted that Layla sign it before any wedding plans could move forward. Daniel felt a pang of discomfort. He trusted Layla completely, but he also understood his mother's concerns. She had always been cautious, always thinking ahead. When Daniel approached Layla with the idea, she listened quietly, her expression calm. She didn't show anger or frustration. Instead, she nodded thoughtfully, acknowledging the request. She had never been married before, and she understood the complexities that could come with relationships, money, and family expectations. Still, there was a small weight on her shoulders as she agreed to the prenup, a quiet tension that neither of them spoke about openly. The days leading up to the proposal were filled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Daniel tried to focus on the happiness of the moment, on the joy of asking Layla to be his partner. But Martha's presence lingered, her concerns about financial security and family reputation subtly influencing every conversation. Layla, on the other hand, carried herself with grace and patience. She knew that some things had to be handled delicately, and she respected Daniel's relationship with his mother. Layla's life outside of Daniel was a careful balance of humility and quiet accomplishment. She came from a family that valued hard work and discretion. Though they were wealthy, she had grown up learning the importance of empathy, kindness, and responsibility. She had never wanted to rely on her family's wealth to define her life. Instead, she had carved her own path, earning respect and admiration for her intelligence, her determination, and her integrity. This made her the perfect partner for Daniel, someone who could navigate the pressures of family expectations without losing herself. As the engagement approached, subtle tests began to surface. Martha asked questions about Layla's background, her upbringing, her education, and her family. Layla answered politely, giving enough information to satisfy casual curiosity, but withholding details that she felt were private. She had learned early in life that not everyone needed to know everything about her, especially when it came to matters that could change people's perceptions or create unnecessary complications. Daniel watched these interactions carefully. He admired Layla's composure and the way she handled his mother's scrutiny with grace. He could see the effort it took for her to maintain patience and kindness while being evaluated in ways that felt intrusive. Yet he also felt a sense of frustration and helplessness. He wanted his mother to trust Layla without reservations, but he knew that trust had to be earned, not demanded. Despite the tension, there were moments of genuine joy. Daniel and Layla spent quiet evenings together, talking about their dreams, sharing stories from their past, and imagining a future that felt exciting and full of promise. They laughed, they planned, and they simply enjoyed each other's presence. These moments reminded them why they were committed to each other, why they were willing to navigate the challenges that came with love, family, and expectations. The prenup, though a source of subtle tension, became a symbol of the complexities they were willing to face together. It was a reminder that love was not always simple, that relationships required negotiation, understanding, and patience. Layla signed the document, not because she doubted her feelings for Daniel, but because she respected his family's concerns and wanted to move forward with integrity. As the engagement party was planned, the dynamics within the family became more apparent. Friends and relatives noticed the careful balance of warmth and caution, the way Layla interacted with Martha, and the unspoken understanding between her and Daniel. People admired Layla's poise and intelligence, and slowly, Martha began to see her in a more nuanced light. She appreciated Layla's patience, her thoughtfulness, and her ability to handle scrutiny without resentment. Even as the celebrations approached, there was an undercurrent of anticipation and curiosity. Layla's past and her family background remained largely unknown to Daniel's mother, and this secrecy added an element of intrigue to the story. Layla had her reasons for keeping certain details private, reasons rooted in a desire to be judged for her character rather than her wealth. She wanted to ensure that her relationship with Daniel was based on genuine affection, not financial considerations or social expectations. The engagement day arrived with a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Daniel prepared to propose, feeling a surge of emotions, love, hope, and a touch of anxiety. Layla, dressed simply yet elegantly, exuded calm confidence. She understood the significance of the moment and the delicate balance between her desire to embrace the future and her need to maintain her personal boundaries. When Daniel knelt to propose, there was a moment of pure connection between them. Words were exchanged, promises were made, and the world seemed to narrow down to just the two of them. Despite the prenup and the subtle pressures from Martha, their love felt genuine and unwavering. It was a love that had been tested by expectations, scrutiny, and patience, and it had emerged stronger for it. After the proposal, as celebrations began and guests offered their congratulations, Daniel reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. He knew there would be challenges ahead, especially with family dynamics and the expectations that came with them. But he also knew that with Layla by his side, he could face anything. Her strength, grace, and wisdom had already left a lasting impression, and he felt confident that together they could navigate the complexities of life, love, and family with integrity and respect. Layla, too, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had managed to stay true to herself while embracing a future filled with love and partnership. She understood that the prenup, while a practical necessity for some, was not a reflection of her worth or her feelings for Daniel. It was simply a step in a journey that required trust, patience, and mutual respect. As the evening drew to a close, the family and friends gathered, celebrating the union of two people who had chosen each other despite the challenges. Layla's quiet dignity and Daniel's unwavering devotion created a powerful example of love built on understanding, patience, and shared values. Even Martha, who had initially insisted on the prenup, began to see that love and character could not be measured by documents or assets alone. The night ended with laughter, joy, and a sense of hope for the future. Daniel and Layla stood together hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Their journey had only just begun, but the foundation of trust, love, and mutual respect had already been laid. And in that moment, surrounded by family, friends, and the warmth of shared happiness, it was clear that the challenges they had faced were only a small part of a much larger, more meaningful story, a story of love, resilience, and the quiet power of character. After the engagement, life seemed to take on a different rhythm for Daniel and Layla. The excitement of being engaged was still fresh, but the reality of planning a wedding, navigating family expectations, and preparing for a shared future began to settle in. Daniel continued his work with the same energy he always had, but now he found himself thinking about Layla constantly. Her presence in his life had brought a sense of completeness, a feeling that had been missing before they met. Layla, meanwhile, balanced her career and personal life with grace. She had always been someone who managed her responsibilities with a quiet strength. Even though she had agreed to the prenup reluctantly, She never allowed it to affect her feelings for Daniel. She saw it as a practical step that did not diminish the love they shared. Yet she also sensed that Daniel's mother had not fully let go of her doubts. Martha's watchful eyes and subtle scrutiny lingered, a constant reminder that not everyone was fully comfortable with their union. As wedding plans began in earnest, Martha started to take a more active role. She suggested venues, debated guest lists, and questioned every detail, always under the guise of caring for her son. Layla handled these moments with patience. She listened politely, sometimes offering her own suggestions, always careful to maintain harmony. It was not always easy. Layla had learned over the years that family dynamics could be complicated, and she had mastered the art of navigating them without causing conflict. Daniel noticed the way Layla moved through these challenges. Her composure impressed him. He realized that the woman he loved was not only kind and intelligent, but also capable of handling situations that required both tact and courage. It made him feel grateful, knowing that he had found someone who could complement his life in ways he had never imagined. Despite the busy schedule of planning, there were quiet moments that Daniel and Layla cherished. They would go for long walks, share meals without distractions, and talk about dreams that extended far beyond the wedding. Layla spoke of her desire to make a difference in the world, to help people in meaningful ways. Daniel shared his vision for his business and how he wanted to support the community. These conversations deepened their connection, reminding them both that love was about more than just shared feelings. It was about shared values and goals. Martha's questions and subtle tests continued. She asked about Layla's upbringing, her education, and even her hobbies, often in ways that seemed casual but were really meant to probe deeper. Layla answered with honesty and diplomacy, giving enough detail to satisfy curiosity without revealing too much. She knew that not all family members needed to know her full story, and she was careful to maintain boundaries that protected both her privacy and her dignity. Meanwhile, Layla's life outside Daniel and his family continued quietly. She had a routine that included visits to her parents, managing her career, and participating in charitable activities. She had grown up in a world of wealth and privilege, but she had been taught the importance of humility and hard work. Her family's influence was present but never imposing. She had always been encouraged to build her own path, and she had done so with determination and integrity. Small hints of her wealth began to surface in subtle ways during the engagement period. Expensive gifts, encounters with influential people, and glimpses into her family's world sometimes caught Martha's attention. However, Layla never flaunted these things. She wanted to ensure that Daniel's mother saw her for who she was, not for what she could provide financially. This restraint and thoughtfulness only made her more admirable in Daniel's eyes. The prenup continued to be a point of quiet tension. Daniel's mother believed it was necessary, but the conversations around it were often uncomfortable. Layla, however, handled it with grace. She signed the document not as a concession to doubt, but as a step toward moving forward with clarity and respect for everyone involved. She understood that these formalities were part of the world she had chosen to navigate, and she approached them with maturity and composure. As the wedding date approached, the interactions between Layla and Martha grew more complex. Martha's initial skepticism slowly softened, though she remained cautious. Layla's consistent kindness, intelligence, and humility began to leave a mark. People around them noticed the subtle shift. What had started as tension and doubt was slowly turning into respect, though it would take time for full acceptance. During this period, Daniel found himself reflecting on the dynamics between his mother and Layla. He recognized the challenge Layla faced in balancing patience with assertiveness. He admired her ability to navigate these relationships without resentment or defensiveness. He also began to understand that his mother's insistence on the prenup was not just about money. It was about her deep care and desire to protect him. This realization brought a sense of empathy that helped him approach the situation with more patience. Layla, on her part, quietly managed the perceptions and expectations around her. She had learned early on that people often judged based on assumptions, and she had developed the skill to lead with her character rather than her background. She allowed her actions, her kindness, and her intelligence to speak for her. In doing so, she created a sense of trust that grew slowly but steadily. The couple also faced social interactions that tested their unity. Friends and acquaintances asked questions, made assumptions, and sometimes subtly questioned Layla's background or intentions. Through these moments, Daniel and Layla's bond strengthened. They learned to communicate openly, support each other, and handle external pressures as a team. These experiences reinforced their commitment, reminding them that love required not just affection, but partnership, trust, and mutual respect. Despite the challenges, there were moments of joy and celebration. The engagement party, small family gatherings, and shared experiences created memories that Daniel and Layla would cherish forever. Layla's presence brought a sense of calm and warmth to these occasions, and Daniel felt proud to call her his fiancée. The subtle complexities of family dynamics and social expectations became part of the story they were writing together, shaping their journey without diminishing their happiness. Layla's quiet influence began to have an effect on Daniel's mother as well. Martha noticed the way people responded to Layla, the respect she commanded without demanding it, and the kindness she consistently showed. Slowly, Martha's perception shifted from cautious skepticism to a more nuanced understanding. She began to see that Layla's character was genuine, that her intentions were pure, and that her strength lay in her ability to balance humility with confidence. As the weeks passed, the couple spent time discussing their future beyond the wedding. They talked about careers, living arrangements, and personal goals. They explored their shared values, the ways they wanted to contribute to the world, and the legacy they hoped to create together. These conversations were deep and meaningful, highlighting the depth of their connection and the seriousness of their commitment. Through it all, Layla remained grounded. She did not let external pressures or the weight of expectations affect her sense of self. She had learned that true strength came from integrity, compassion, and the ability to remain authentic in the face of challenges. Daniel admired this quality deeply, recognizing that it was rare and precious. The prenup, once a source of tension, became a symbol of maturity and practicality. It represented a step toward building a future based on clarity and mutual respect, not mistrust or doubt. Layla's decision to sign it gracefully demonstrated her understanding of the delicate balance between love, family, and societal expectations. It was not a compromise of her values, but a reflection of her wisdom and foresight. As the wedding drew closer, the interactions between the families began to reveal more about Layla's character and background. Small hints, gestures, and stories painted a picture of a woman who had been raised with values of empathy, kindness, and responsibility. Though her wealth was impressive, it was her character that stood out, leaving a lasting impression on those around her. Daniel and Layla continued to grow together, facing challenges with patience and understanding. Their love deepened, strengthened by shared experiences, open communication, and mutual respect. They began to understand that life together would require negotiation, compromise, and unwavering support for one another. Martha, observing these developments, found herself reflecting on her own expectations and biases. She realized that while she had wanted to protect her son, she had also been quick to judge. Layla's consistent grace and intelligence challenged her preconceptions, slowly breaking down walls of skepticism and doubt. The process was gradual, but it created the foundation for eventual acceptance and understanding. By the end of this period, Daniel and Layla were not only preparing for their wedding, but also for a lifetime of partnership. They had navigated the complexities of family expectations, societal pressures, and personal boundaries with patience and integrity. The prenup, once a source of tension, had become a stepping stone in a journey that demanded trust, respect, and unwavering commitment. Through it all, Layla's quiet influence, strength, and wisdom left a lasting mark on everyone around her. She demonstrated that character mattered more than wealth, that patience and grace could overcome skepticism, and that love required understanding, partnership, and resilience. Daniel, by her side, felt fortunate to share a future with someone so remarkable, someone who had proven that true partnership transcended social expectations, family pressure, and the complexities of life itself. As the wedding plans moved forward, Daniel and Layla found themselves navigating a mix of excitement and quiet tension. Their love had grown deeper, but the family dynamics continued to present challenges. Martha, Daniel's mother, had begun to soften slightly in her perception of Layla, but a lingering skepticism remained. She respected Layla's patience and intelligence, yet the shadow of the prenup and Layla's elusive background caused her to remain cautious. Layla, for her part, continued to handle every interaction with grace. She understood the delicate balance required when dealing with Daniel's mother. She listened attentively, offered thoughtful responses, and never allowed herself to appear flustered or defensive. Her composure impressed those around her, including Daniel's extended family and friends, many of whom noted her quiet dignity and the ease with which she managed complex social situations. Despite the subtle tension, there were moments of warmth and intimacy between Daniel and Layla. They found solace in small routines, like cooking dinner together, taking evening walks, or simply sitting in quiet conversation. These moments reminded them of why they had chosen each other, offering a respite from the pressures of planning a wedding and navigating familial expectations. However, the prenup remained a source of underlying unease. Daniel's mother, while polite, often asked questions or made comments that suggested she was not fully satisfied. Layla's responses were always careful, designed to maintain harmony while protecting her privacy. She knew that revealing too much about her family could disrupt the delicate balance that had been established and shift attention from the love between her and Daniel to questions about wealth and status. It was during this period that small hints of Layla's true background began to emerge in subtle ways. She occasionally received unexpected gifts from high-profile acquaintances, was invited to private events, and sometimes spoke casually of experiences that seemed far beyond the average person's life. These glimpses of affluence were never flaunted. Layla remained humble and measured in her actions. Still, Martha could not help but notice the incongruities between the woman she thought she knew and the glimpses she was beginning to see. Daniel noticed his mother's quiet observations and sensed the internal conflict within her. He understood her desire to protect him and her cautious nature, but he also wanted her to trust Layla completely. He began to see that Layla's patience, intelligence, and authenticity were slowly making an impact, even if Martha was not yet ready to fully admit it. Meanwhile, Layla continued to live her life with the same quiet dignity she had always shown. She visited her own family from time to time, maintained her career, and engaged in charitable work, all without drawing attention to her wealthy background. She had been raised to value humility, integrity, and empathy, and she carried these lessons into every interaction, whether with Daniel's family or her own. The interactions between Layla and Martha were often nuanced, with unspoken understandings and subtle exchanges. Layla could sense when her presence or words had an impact, and she adapted accordingly. She never sought to manipulate or impress, but she was aware of the perceptions around her and managed them with care. Over time, even Martha began to see that Layla's strength lay in her character rather than her background or wealth. Social gatherings during this period revealed more of Layla's ability to navigate complex dynamics. Friends and acquaintances asked questions about her past, her experiences, and her family. Layla responded with honesty and diplomacy, never exaggerating or downplaying her life. Daniel was proud of her composure, recognizing that it took courage to remain authentic in a world where assumptions and judgments were constant. The prenup, while still a subtle point of tension, became less of a barrier as both Daniel and Layla demonstrated their commitment to each other. Layla's willingness to sign it gracefully, despite feeling it unnecessary, showed her respect for Daniel's family and her desire to move forward with clarity. Daniel, in turn, reassured her through actions and words that the document did not define their love or the foundation of their relationship. As the wedding approached, minor conflicts arose, as they naturally would in any high-stakes family situation. There were disagreements about guest lists, seating arrangements, and small details that seemed trivial, but carried emotional weight. Layla handled each situation with tact, seeking solutions that respected both her own values and those of Daniel's family. Her ability to mediate without taking offense earned her quiet admiration from those around her. One evening, while Daniel and Layla were reviewing final wedding details, Martha stopped by unexpectedly. She had a thoughtful expression, and for the first time in weeks she seemed less critical and more reflective. She asked Layla about her experiences, her values, and her perspective on life. Layla answered candidly, sharing insights about her upbringing, her work, and the importance of kindness and integrity. Martha listened intently, beginning to see beyond assumptions and starting to appreciate the depth of Layla's character. Despite these breakthroughs, there was still a lingering curiosity about Layla's family background. Daniel had learned to accept her privacy and trusted that she would share when the time was right. Layla, meanwhile, was aware that revelations about her wealth could change the dynamics within Daniel's family, and she wanted to manage that moment carefully to ensure it strengthened, rather than strained, relationships. In the midst of wedding preparations, Daniel and Layla continued to focus on each other. They spoke openly about their fears, their hopes, and their dreams for a life together. These conversations deepened their bond, reminding them that their love was built not just on attraction, but on shared values, mutual respect, and the ability to navigate life's challenges together. Layla's subtle influence began to have a quiet impact on Daniel's mother. Martha observed how friends, family, and acquaintances responded to Layla's presence. She noticed the respect she commanded without demanding it, the way she handled scrutiny with grace, and the kindness she extended to everyone around her. Slowly, Martha began to reevaluate her initial skepticism, realizing that Layla's true worth lay in her character, not in assumptions or appearances. As the days passed, small but meaningful moments continued to shape the narrative. Layla would offer quiet guidance during family discussions, lend support to Daniel in his work, and show compassion to those who were overlooked or underestimated. Her actions spoke louder than words, creating a lasting impression that gradually shifted perceptions and softened doubts. Even the prenup, once a symbol of caution and mistrust, began to feel like a practical step rather than a barrier. It represented a shared understanding of responsibility and foresight, and Layla's acceptance of it gracefully reinforced her commitment to navigating life's challenges with Daniel. Through all of this, Daniel found himself constantly in awe of Layla. Her patience, intelligence, and integrity were qualities he had long admired, but they became even more apparent as they faced the pressures of family expectations together. He realized that the woman he loved was not only his partner in life, but also a guide in how to handle complex situations with wisdom and grace. The subtle signs of Layla's wealth and background continued to surface, but they were always handled with discretion. Daniel's mother noticed expensive gifts or references to high-profile events, and her curiosity grew. Yet she also began to see that Layla's values were consistent, and her humility never wavered despite her privilege. This realization slowly chipped away at Martha's lingering skepticism, creating room for genuine respect and acceptance. The couple also spent time discussing their long-term plans beyond the wedding. They spoke about careers, personal goals, family planning, and ways to make a positive impact in their communities. These conversations reinforced their shared values and strengthened their commitment to building a life together that was grounded in integrity, empathy, and mutual support. Through these experiences, Layla's quiet influence became increasingly evident. She demonstrated that strength did not come from wealth or social status, but from character, empathy, and the ability to navigate complex dynamics with grace. Daniel felt fortunate to have found someone who embodied these qualities so fully, someone who could face challenges alongside him with unwavering support and wisdom. As the wedding drew near, the tension between curiosity and understanding remained. Martha still had questions about Layla's family and background, but her growing respect for Layla's character tempered her initial skepticism. She began to see that her son had chosen wisely, and that Layla's love and integrity were genuine. In quiet moments, Daniel reflected on the journey they had taken. The prenup, the subtle test from his mother, and the challenges of managing family expectations had all been part of a process that revealed the depth of Layla's character and their compatibility as a couple. He felt confident that their love was strong enough to withstand any external pressures, rooted as it was in shared values, mutual respect, and genuine affection. Layla, too, reflected on the path they were on. She understood that relationships required patience, empathy, and the ability to navigate both known and unknown challenges. She had handled each situation with care, maintaining her dignity and authenticity, and she felt proud of the way they were moving forward together. The story of their engagement, the prenup, and the subtle dynamics with Daniel's mother was far from over. But both Daniel and Layla were ready to face the next chapter with confidence and love. They had built a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding that would carry them through the complexities of life and family, ensuring that their union was not only a celebration of love, but also a testament to resilience, patience, and character. The days leading up to the wedding were filled with a mixture of excitement, anticipation, and quiet tension. Daniel and Layla were busy with the final preparations, but there was an underlying energy that hinted something unexpected might happen. Layla remained calm, her patience and composure never wavering, while Daniel was increasingly aware of the subtleties in his mother's behavior. Martha had softened somewhat in her judgment, but there was still a lingering curiosity about Layla's background that Daniel could sense. On one sunny afternoon, Layla's mother arrived unexpectedly. She was a dignified woman, exuding confidence and warmth, and carried herself with the poise of someone accustomed to influence and authority. Martha, who was overseeing some of the wedding details, barely had time to process the arrival before she realized that this woman was not an ordinary guest. Layla's mother greeted everyone politely, but with an unmistakable air of prominence that immediately caught Martha's attention. Layla approached her mother with a mix of joy and reverence, and Daniel noticed the unspoken respect in their interaction. It was clear that Layla's family carried a legacy, a sense of status that went beyond wealth and extended into influence and accomplishment. Martha, ever observant, began to piece things together as she watched Layla and her mother converse. There was something in the way they moved, spoke, and interacted that hinted at a world she had never fully imagined. As the conversation unfolded, Layla's mother casually mentioned experiences and connections that revealed the family's true standing. She spoke of philanthropic projects, business ventures, and social circles that were far beyond what Martha had expected. The subtle clues were enough to make Martha's mind race. She realized, with a sudden jolt, that the woman she had insisted sign a prenup was not just Layla, the kind and intelligent fiancée she had grown to respect, but the daughter of a billionaire. The truth struck her hard, leaving her momentarily speechless and overwhelmed by the realization of how wrong her assumptions had been. Daniel could see the mix of shock, embarrassment, and awe on his mother's face. He felt a wave of pride in Layla, but also a pang of frustration at his mother's initial insistence on the prenup. The revelation was a turning point. Martha had unknowingly pressured someone extraordinary without understanding who she truly was. The tension that had lingered for months suddenly transformed into a moment of clarity, a recognition of the depth and authenticity of Layla's character. Layla, for her part, remained composed and gracious. She did not boast or emphasize her family's wealth. Instead, she allowed the interaction to unfold naturally, demonstrating through her words and demeanor that her upbringing had instilled values far more important than money: humility, empathy, and integrity. Daniel felt immense admiration for her, realizing once again why he had fallen in love with her. The wedding preparations continued, but the dynamic had shifted. Martha's behavior transformed from cautious scrutiny to reflective respect. She began to see that her son had chosen wisely, and that Layla's true worth was not defined by her family's wealth, but by her character, her patience, and the way she handled complex situations. It was a humbling realization, and Martha found herself reconsidering the assumptions she had made and the judgments she had passed. As the day of the wedding approached, both families began to interact more openly. Layla's mother's presence brought a sense of sophistication and calm, offering guidance and support without overpowering the celebrations. Daniel and Layla worked together to ensure that everyone felt included and comfortable, balancing the expectations of both families while staying true to their vision for the wedding. In these moments, small gestures of kindness and understanding emerged that reinforced the love and respect between all parties. Layla's thoughtfulness became evident in the way she ensured that every detail, from seating arrangements to personal preferences, was considered. Daniel admired her ability to manage both practical matters and emotional sensitivities with grace. Martha, observing these actions, began to understand the depth of Layla's character, realizing that the woman she had once viewed with skepticism was someone truly remarkable. On the morning of the wedding, a quiet sense of anticipation filled the air. Daniel and Layla spent time together, reflecting on their journey and the challenges they had overcome. They spoke about the prenup, family dynamics, and the ways in which their love had been tested and strengthened. Layla reassured Daniel that her commitment was unwavering, that the document had never diminished her feelings for him. Daniel, in turn, expressed his admiration for her patience and grace, recognizing the sacrifices she had made to navigate complex family expectations. As guests began to arrive, the atmosphere was filled with joy and celebration. Friends and family members mingled, sharing stories and laughter. Layla's quiet influence was felt throughout the gathering, as her calm demeanor and thoughtful interaction set a tone of warmth and inclusion. Martha, now fully aware of Layla's background, felt a mixture of pride, humility, and admiration. She realized that her initial insistence on the prenup had been unnecessary, and she silently acknowledged the mistake she had made in judging someone without understanding their true character. The ceremony itself was beautiful, filled with heartfelt vows and moments of genuine emotion. Daniel and Layla exchanged promises that reflected not only their love, but also their commitment to partnership, respect, and understanding. Layla's presence, calm and dignified, reassured everyone that this was a union built on more than romance. It was a connection rooted in values, integrity, and shared vision for the future. During the reception, subtle interactions highlighted the changing dynamics. Martha approached Layla with warmth and sincerity, offering apologies for any doubts or pressures she had imposed. Layla accepted with grace, understanding that Martha's intentions had been motivated by care and concern, even if misguided. The two women began to forge a bond built on mutual respect, a relationship that would continue to grow beyond the wedding day. Throughout the evening, Daniel and Layla were surrounded by love, laughter, and the support of their families. Layla's quiet influence continued to resonate, as her kindness and thoughtfulness left lasting impressions on those around her. Guests noticed her ability to connect with people from all walks of life, her genuine interest in others, and the way she navigated social interactions with ease and authenticity. The revelation of Layla's family background became a point of quiet admiration rather than tension. Everyone recognized that while her wealth was significant, it was her character and integrity that truly defined her. Daniel felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride, knowing that he had found a partner who embodied the values he cherished most. As the night drew to a close, the couple reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. They had navigated challenges, family dynamics, and societal expectations, and through it all, their love had remained strong and unwavering. Layla's grace, patience, and intelligence had not only strengthened their bond, but had also left a lasting impact on Daniel's family. Martha, in particular, experienced a profound transformation. She recognized that her initial judgments had been based on assumptions, and that Layla's true worth could only be measured by her actions, her values, and her character. The prenup, once a point of tension, now felt like a symbol of growth and understanding rather than mistrust. In the days following the wedding, the relationships within the family continued to evolve. Martha developed a newfound respect for Layla, appreciating her ability to handle complex situations with grace and wisdom. Layla's mother maintained a gentle influence, offering guidance without intrusion, and creating a supportive environment for the newlyweds. Daniel and Layla settled into married life with a sense of confidence and unity. They continued to navigate family dynamics with patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Their love, tested and strengthened through challenges, became the foundation for a life built on trust, integrity, and shared values. Through it all, Layla's quiet strength and unwavering character remained a guiding presence. She demonstrated that true worth was not determined by wealth or status, but by the ability to navigate life's complexities with empathy, patience, and authenticity. Daniel, by her side, felt fortunate to share a life with someone so remarkable, someone who had not only captured his heart, but had also earned the respect and admiration of everyone around her. The journey, that began with a prenup and cautious family scrutiny, had transformed into a celebration of love, character, and understanding. The initial tension had given way to acceptance and admiration, creating a foundation for a future filled with partnership, trust, and shared joy. Daniel and Layla's story stood as a testament to the power of patience, integrity, and the quiet strength of a remarkable woman who had navigated every challenge with grace and authenticity. Life after the wedding was filled with new routines, challenges, and moments of discovery for Daniel and Layla. They had moved past the tension surrounding the prenup and the initial family doubts, and now they could focus on building a life together. Their days were a mix of work, personal projects, and spending quality time together, each moment strengthening the bond they shared. Daniel often marveled at Layla's ability to remain grounded despite the revelations about her family background. She lived simply, maintaining the routines and habits she had cultivated before marriage. Her humility was remarkable, especially given the vast resources at her disposal. Daniel felt proud and grateful that his partner valued character and authenticity above wealth or status. He also appreciated the patience and grace she had shown during the months of scrutiny from his family. Martha, too, continued to adjust to the new reality. She had come to a deep appreciation of Layla's character and understood that her initial insistence on the prenup had been unnecessary. Martha began to let go of her lingering doubts and fully embrace her daughter-in-law. Their relationship evolved into one of mutual respect and affection, built on understanding and recognition of Layla's wisdom, patience, and humility. The couple spent a lot of time reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. They often talked about the early days of their relationship, the prenup, and the moments of tension and misunderstanding. These conversations were never about blame, but about understanding, growth, and appreciation for each other. Layla's perspective had helped Daniel see the importance of empathy and patience, and Daniel's support had given Layla the confidence to navigate complex family dynamics with grace. As months passed, Daniel and Layla found themselves engaging in projects that aligned with their shared values. They invested time in philanthropic activities, supporting local communities and initiatives that mattered to them. Layla, in particular, took the lead in organizing charity events, using her resources and knowledge to make a difference without drawing attention to her wealth. Her approach was genuine, driven by empathy and a desire to help, not by the need for recognition. Family interactions became smoother and more meaningful. Martha had grown to respect Layla deeply, appreciating her thoughtfulness and integrity. They often spent time together, discussing family matters, sharing personal stories, and supporting each other in small ways that strengthened their bond. Layla's mother also became a frequent visitor, offering guidance and wisdom without overshadowing the couple's independence. One of the most significant aspects of their life together was the way they managed challenges as a team. Daniel's work was demanding, and Layla's initiatives often required strategic thinking and planning. They learned to support each other, communicate openly, and make decisions collaboratively. Their partnership was a reflection of mutual respect, shared values, and a commitment to building a life together that was meaningful and fulfilling. The lessons from the prenup and family scrutiny continued to resonate. Daniel realized that trust and understanding were crucial in every aspect of life, not just in love. Layla's patience and wisdom had taught him the value of perspective, empathy, and the importance of seeing beyond appearances or assumptions. These lessons shaped not only their relationship, but also the way they approached challenges in work and community projects. As time went on, Layla's quiet influence extended beyond the immediate family. Friends, colleagues, and acquaintances admired her composure, humility, and ability to navigate complex situations with grace. Her character and authenticity left lasting impressions, demonstrating that true value was not measured by wealth or status but by integrity, empathy, and kindness. Daniel and Layla also made time to nurture their personal connection. They continued to have quiet evenings together, long walks, and meaningful conversations. These moments allowed them to reflect on their journey, share their dreams, and support each other emotionally. The foundation of their relationship, built on trust and mutual respect, became stronger with each passing day. Martha, observing these developments, felt a sense of pride and relief. She saw the love, commitment, and partnership between her son and Layla, and recognized that her initial concerns, though well-intentioned, had been misplaced. The prenup, once a source of tension, had become a symbol of prudence and understanding, showing that relationships could navigate practical matters without undermining love or respect. Layla, for her part, continued to maintain her values and principles. She never allowed her wealth or family background to define her actions or relationships. She remained genuine, thoughtful, and kind, using her resources to help others quietly and effectively. Her actions reinforced the lessons she had taught Daniel and his family about character, empathy, and humility. Over time, the couple began to explore new opportunities together, from business ventures to charitable initiatives. Their shared vision and mutual support allowed them to take risks and pursue goals that aligned with their values. Each success and challenge further strengthened their partnership, proving that they were not only partners in love but also in life's broader endeavors. The story of their relationship became a quiet inspiration to those around them, It illustrated the importance of patience, understanding, and the ability to navigate challenges with grace. The prenup, the initial family scrutiny, and the subtle tensions had all played a role in shaping their journey. But it was the love, respect, and integrity of Daniel and Layla that defined their story. Even years later, Daniel and Layla would reflect on their early challenges with gratitude. The experiences had taught them resilience, the value of communication, and the importance of seeing beyond assumptions. They had learned to build a life that balanced personal ambitions, family expectations, and shared goals, creating a legacy rooted in love, empathy, and integrity. Through it all, Layla remained the heart of the relationship. Her quiet strength, intelligence, and unwavering character guided their decisions and inspired those around her. Daniel, by her side, felt fortunate to share a life with someone who embodied values he held dear. Their love, tested and strengthened by early challenges, had become a powerful force that shaped every aspect of their life together. The prenup, once a point of tension and doubt, had become a small footnote in a much larger story. The journey of understanding, patience, and growth had proven far more important than any document. Daniel and Layla's story was a testament to the power of character, the value of empathy, and the enduring strength of love built on respect and trust. In the end, life for Daniel and Layla was not defined by wealth, family pressure, or societal expectations. It was defined by the choices they made, the respect they showed each other, and the love that guided their journey. Their story served as a reminder that true partnership required patience, understanding, and a willingness to see the person beyond assumptions, and that love, integrity, and empathy were the most valuable legacies one could leave behind.